So till last lecture, we had covered provisions from the insolvency part. We had finished the insolvency chapter 14. So technically from, if we discuss from the insolvency bankruptcy code, we have covered till section 54. And from your module, if you see, so this is the index of the new syllabus module. For old syllabus, again, it's all in one chapter. So I have not got that index here. So we have covered this in introduction of the insolvency. We have covered the petition for filing. Then we have also covered how the meeting of the committee of creditors will be convened, how the resolution plan will be passed, and we have also covered the liquidation on or after filing of the resolution plan. So these are the chapters that we have already covered as far as your new syllabus is concerned. Role and functions and duties of IRP, RP, this is also covered along with this. So this is again the repetitive. So I'll write it here. This is just the repeat provision. Resolution strategies. Has anyone gone through this chapter? Resolution strategy. Has anyone gone through this chapter? Resolution strategy. So
No, sir.
resolution strategy. Again, if you will go through, this is repeat of part A. And this is exclusively for the new syllabus student, not applicable for old syllabus. For new syllabus also, technically when you will read this, it's again the repetitive part. So today at the end of the session, I will again open the module and I'll just go through, check you, check with you these chapters. So all the provisions are done here. We have done this. Today what we are going to start, today we will be starting with the fast track CIRP, right? The fast track CIRP process. Plus we are going to do this chapter, voluntary liquidation. Voluntary liquidation, earlier it was part of the Companies Act, but now this has been repealed from the Companies Act and we have all this provision in the IBC. So we'll be covering this chapter also today. So this is the target for today. And then tomorrow we can do these two chapters. These two are also small chapters. From exam perspective, this is the least important because the provisions of individual and the firm insolvency and the fresh start process is not yet notified, but quite possible you may get a short note question. So I'll cover it through the slides only. And particularly I'll pick up what I have covered in the last lecture, basically in the previous batch. So it's the same provision that I will share with you all. And then we can go ahead with the SARFACI. So this IBC, apart from IBC, SARFACI is another very, very important. This is one of the most important chapter. Once SARFACI is done, then we can pick up the winding up chapter and the cross border insolvency. So this way we'll be through. So let's get started with the fast track CIRP. So just understand that what is fast track CIRP and why it is called as fast track CIRP. So we have studied the cross border merge. We have studied the mergers and amalgamation section 232, and then we also studied section 233, which was the fast track merger. Same way provision we have a fast track CRP, but just understand it is not that. Uh, this I have explained only to get you a comparison that we have similar provisions here also, but otherwise there's no relation here. Like in section 233, it is without NCLT. So here it is not without NCLT. Here still the NCLT is there, but it is fast track CRP because the overall cost. So first of all, just understand here the corporate debtor is small. Okay. Here the corporate debtor is small. Here the time taken is less. And here again, when you talk about the cost is also less. For the fast track CIRP, the cost is also going to be less. Apart from that, everything is going to remain same. You'll have the same insolvency resolution professional, right? The insolvency professional will be there. The adjudicating authority will again be the NCLT. Others are going to be same. So this is there. Now we'll be covering two provisions. One is I'll cover what is different from the fast track CRP. Otherwise, everything is same, right? If you see, otherwise everything is same. And when I say everything is same, which means the same insolvency professional will be appointed as interim resolution professional. Then you will have the resolution professional here. The adjudicating authority will again be the NCLT. You will again have the committee of creditor. You will same have the public announcement. Then same information memorandum, evaluation matrix, then expression of interest. Then the resolution plan would be again approved by the COC, and then it will be approved by the NCLT. So provisions and everything is same. It's just that there are certain companies, only few companies are eligible, right? So only few, I won't even say company, only few corporate debtors are eligible. So first and foremost question that can come into your exam is who are the eligible corporate debtors for fast track CIRP? The second question which they can ask is what is the time process? So this time process which they can ask, so that I'll cover here. And third is what is the difference between the normal CIRP and the fast track CIRP? So some of the provisions which are there which we can cover here. So first and foremost, just understand that when we talk about the fast track CIRP, here you have section 55 to section 58, right? Along with the fast track regulations you have to cover. So these are the applicable provisions. So just in case you get a question in the exam, eligibility for fast track CRP or anything, do mention this section 55 to section 58 along with the fast track CRP regulation. So the first question which you will get here is who can, that is the eligibility. So first of all, just understand a small company. A small company is eligible for the CIRP. Second, here any unlisted company, any unlisted company which has assets worth less than 1 crore with the asset size in immediately preceding financial year is less than 1 crore. It should not be more than 1 crore. And third is if there is a startup. What is a startup? What is a startup? So if you have to write provisions about startup, just understand 5 years of incorporation, rather less than 5 years of incorporation. Then secondly, the startups, they do not have a turnover of, basically the turnover is less than 25 crores in any preceding financial year. Also, they are into the business of innovation or towards the development, right? Research and development, etc. for the products and services. So these are the corporate debtors who are who are eligible for fast track CIRP. Okay. Now, second thing, who can apply for the fast track CIRP? Basically, the application. So just understand here the application can be filed by the creditor. So there is no separate provision whether it's a financial creditor or it's an operational creditor. The application can be filed by any creditor, and secondly, it can be filed by the corporate debtor itself, right? Basically, any creditor, any creditor can file when the default takes place. So what is the difference? As I said, the duration of fast track CIRP is 90 days from the date of application or from the date of commencement of CIRP. From the date of commencement of CIRP, it is 90 days. plus they can give an extension of 45 days. So a 45 days extension can be granted. Then the public announcement will be made, right? So the public announcement will be made within 3 working days from the appointment of IRP. Right? Then if you see, what was the last date for the submission of claims in normal CIRP?
54 days.
54 days. No,
180 days.
180 days is for the CIRP. I'm asking about the submission of claims. पब्लिक अनाउंसमेंट हुआ, उसके बाद आप क्लेम्स मंगवा रहे हो, तो रेजोल्यूशन प्रोफेशनल तक, इंटरिम रेजोल्यूशन प्रोफेशनल तक, in how many days the claims should be submitted from the
2
date of
weeks.
30 days, 21 days
Hmm.
submission of the claims. Okay, so basically 14 days, within 14 days from the date of public announcement, the claims should be made, and within 21 days the COC should be formed. Sridevi ji, first meeting should happen in 30 days. Public announcement, then from the public announcement within 14 days submission of the claims, and from the public announcement within 21 days the formation of the COC, and then from the 30 days of his appointment COC should be formed. Right, within 21 days the COC should be formed and the first meeting should take place. So the last date for the submission of the claims, it is within 10 days. So just remember these timelines. Within 10 days of the appointment of the interim resolution professional. Then if you see, verification of claims will be done within 7 days. Within next 7 days, the verification of the claim should be done. Now is again the constitution of COC. So this must be done within 21 days of the appointment. The constitution should be done. Now, next, again, filing of the report to the adjudicating authority, and this will be done by the interim resolution professional. So this should also be done within 21 days of his appointment. Thereafter, we'll have the first meeting of COC. So the first meeting of COC should take place within 7 days of the filing of the report. This report, which has been filed to the NCLT, uske within next 7 days, the meeting should be done. And then you'll have the quorum. The quorum should be again 33%. This is same. Again, if you talk about the voting is again same, 51%, then 66% to approve the resolution plan. Okay. Registered valuer. How many registered valuers should be appointed? Only one. Only one registered valuer will be appointed, and this will be appointed within 7 days of his appointment. Within the 7 days of his appointment, this will be done. And what is the role of a registered valuer? registered valuer is going to determine the liquidation value as well as the fair value. These two valuations will be determined by the registered valuer. Have I covered the registered valuer provision for other than fast track CIRP? In the normal CRP, have I covered that? I don't remember. I have covered this. I think I have not covered it. So just see registered valuer for other than fast track CIRP. So here if you see how many, there should be minimum 2 registered valuers will be appointed. Not minimum, technically 2 registered valuers would be appointed, and it will be appointed, or the registered valuer will be appointed within 7 days of the appointment of IRP. Also, the registered valuer is again going to determine the liquidation value and the fair value. Now you have two registered valuer. Here there is no problem. Let's say the liquidator, the registered valuer says the liquidation value is, let's say it is 55 lakhs. The fair valuation is 80 lakhs. So you just have one value. But when you discuss, when you see there are two registered valuers, there will be two valuation. So how will the final valuation be determined? What will be the final value? So the final liquidation value will be the average of the liquidation value by each registered valuer. So let's say you have registered valuer A and registered valuer B. So you'll get liquidation value by A plus the liquidation value by B. And that you are going to divide it by 2. So liquidation value B, and this you are going to divide it by 2. Similarly, the final fair value will be what? The final fair value will be again the average of the fair value by each registered valuer. And this is going to be fair value A plus the fair value B. And this would be divided by 2. Got it? So this is there. And just understand what is fair value. Fair value is, again, as I say, if the company is a going concern, what should be the valuation? And what is the liquidation value? So if the company is being wound up, what value should be realized? What value would be realized? And for fair valuation, if the company is going concern, what should be the fair value? See, so these are the two valuations. This should be determined. Also understand the registered valuer. There is a eligibility. Registered valuer, first of all, it should be registered with the registered valuer organization as well as IBBI. So how you have Insolvency Professional Agency and Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India jurisdicting over both the register insolvency professional, same way here. And also this registered valuer must not be relative of the RP. Also should not be the relative of the corporate debtor. Also, the registered valuer must not be the auditor of the corporate debtor anytime in preceding 5 financial years. You should not be the auditor from the CIRP. And at last should not be the partner or the director of insolvency professional firm where the insolvency professional is the director or the partner. So this is the eligibility. So just remember, this is common for both. This is common for both. And this I have covered registered valuer for other than the normal, other than the fast track CIRP, and this is for the fast track CIRP. So just remember, these are the questions which can be asked in the exam. Who is eligible, right? Who is eligible for fast track CIRP and what are the timelines? So these are the timelines. Verification of the claims and everything is to be done. So this is there. Let's go ahead and discuss the next part. So now we have the liquidation of the corporate debtor. But before that, I just want to cover this from the Bear Act. Once I want to cover this from the Bear Act so that so I'll open the Bear Act for you all. Yeah. So I'll just take you to section 55. So in between, you are going to find the provisions for the pre-packaged insolvency resolution. Just ignore that. You don't have to cover that. So just see. So this is chapter number 4. So fast track corporate insolvency resolution process. So this can be carried out in accordance with this chapter and will be called as fast track corporate insolvency resolution process. And the application for fast track corporate insolvency resolution process may be made in respect of the corporate debtor. So just understand, the corporate debtor is what? The corporate debtor is having the assets and income below the level. So here the assets has been notified, or the corporate debtor is with such class of creditors and such other class of person. So basically this I've already covered: the small company, the startup, and then unlisted company having assets less than 1 crore. Now, what is the timeline for the completion of the fast track CIRP process? So it should be completed within
90 days.
yes, within 90 days from the date of commencement of the insolvency date. And then you all can see the PPT, the PDF, right? The Bear Act. You all can see the PDF, right? The Bear Act.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next you have the resolution professional will file the application to the adjudicating authority to again extend this time period, but this should not be extended more than beyond 90 days. It can be done, but by 45 days, right? And this should be supported by again 75% of the voting share. So here it is still 75%. Now on the receipt of this application, the adjudicating authority may do this, and this will not be exceeded more than 45 days. Then it shall not be granted more than once. And the manner of initiating this, so again, then the application for the fast track CRP process can be filed by the creditor or the corporate debtor. So just see, there is no class of creditor specified. Okay. So there is no class of creditor which is specified. Any creditor can file, which implies any creditor can file, or the corporate debtor. But again, proof of default has to be provided, right? And such other information to establish that the person. So here you also need to establish that the corporate debtor is eligible for fast track CRP process. Now I just have one question. Let's say the fast track CRP process has commenced, and during the process, the basically any person or the resolution professional gets to know that the corporate debtor is not eligible. The corporate debtor is not eligible for fast track CIRP. What is going to happen in that case? I hope I am clear with my question. The fast track CIRP has already commenced for a corporate debtor, but In between, during the process, we get to know that the corporate debtor is not eligible. The corporate debtor was not eligible for the CIRP process, the fast track CIRP process. Then what is going to happen?
Sir, it
It
will be then
converts
shifted to CR,
in
normal CIP process.
Here it will be, so here it will be the duty of the resolution professional to file an application to the NCLT so that the application can be proceeded or the entire process can be proceeded as per the normal CIRP process. Okay, got this? So
Yes, sir.
this can be one of the question that you are the resolution professional of, let's say, ABC Limited, which is undergoing a fast track CIRP. During the process, you get to know that the company is not eligible for a fast track CIRP. Explain the legal course of action which will be taken. So basically, we'll file the application to NCLT that this company is not eligible for a fast track CIRP. Hence, the application should be now considered under the normal CIRP. Okay. So this is there. And apart from that, if you see the process of conducting the CIRP under chapter 2. So whatever was there in under chapter 2, they will apply as it is, right? And even for the offenses and penalties, they shall apply as it is. So same as I said, the committee of creditors will be formed and everything is going to be same. The only thing I'm not covering right now in the class, I have not opened up the bare regulation of fast track CIRP because that broad provisions I've already covered in your uh, this slide. So you'll not have to study that again. So that is absolutely fine. Now we have to cover section 59. Section 59, if I say, we'll read it from the Bare Act, but I would also say read the notes, read the guide notes, right? The guide note for voluntary liquidation. I've covered it in very detail. We will also do it from the chart. You'll find it at the end. So this is that guide note. So this is section 59 and this is the guide note for section 59 and I've discussed it in very detail here. But before that, I will still cover the voluntary liquidation from the slides. Then we will read the, or let's just read the Bare Act once and then I can cover this from the slide also. Just remember, you also have the liquidation regulations. The voluntary liquidation regulation is also there. So what does it say? So it says that a corporate person. So just remember now the word they have used is a corporate person and it is not corporate debtor. Can anyone tell me why?
corporate person means corporate person itself, corporate debtor itself and their members and their partners also. So if any time members uh, members mm, think
That,
that
that is
yeah,
fine. You are telling me how this is going to happen. That is absolutely fine. My question is why there is no corporate debtor. Till now, wherever we have studied, we have used the word corporate debtor.
सर बिकॉज इन वहां पे डिफॉल्ट हो रहा था क्रेडिटर्स को पेमेंट करने पे, इधर कोई डिफॉल्ट नहीं है.
So one
इधर
important
कंपनी
word, one important word which Mansi you have said. Here there is a default. So till now whatever we have studied there was a default. Here there is no default. Okay. One. And secondly, the company may not have debts as Shri Devi ji has answered in the comment section that the company may not have debts. So they can voluntarily liquidate. So the company may have debts, company may not have the debts. But one thing is for sure that the company has not defaulted. So you are not going as a corporate debtor, you're going as a corporate person. Okay.
यस सर.
Right. So when you write the answer for voluntary liquidation, please make sure that you don't use the word corporate debtor. You'll have to use the word corporate person. Okay. So just see a corporate person who intends to liquidate itself voluntarily and has not committed any default. Can you see this? And has not committed any default may initiate voluntary liquidation proceeding under the provisions of this chapter. So the voluntary liquidation of a corporate person under subsection 1 shall meet such conditions and procedural requirements as specified by the board. So basically there you have to see the liquidation regulation, voluntary liquidation regulation. Apart from that, just see without prejudice to subsection 2, voluntary liquidation of a proceeding of a corporate person registered as company. So this is if it is registered as company shall meet the following conditions. What is one is that there should be a declaration by the majority of the directors of the company verified by an affidavit that they have made full inquiry into the affairs of the company. Also, they are of the opinion that the company either has no debt or the company will be able to pay its debt if the company is into the liquidation, and from the proceeds of the asset everything will be paid. Also, that the company is not being wound up to defraud any person. Got this? So first and foremost is the declaration. Apart from declaration, it will be accompanied with the following documents. One is what? The audited financial statements and the record of business operations. Now, what is record of business operations? So there can be other attachments which can be uh, required by, like the bank account details and all those things can be required by the NCLT of the previous 2 financial years. So this you are going to submit it for the previous 2 financial years, and let's say the company is incorporated for a period of less than 2 years, then again whatever time period was there. Also, a report of valuation of the assets of the company will also be submitted. Now, why is this valuation report needed? Why is this valuation report needed? Again, to establish that the company has sufficient amount of money. Okay, the company has sufficient amount of money. Then within 4 weeks of the declaration, so the declaration is going to take place. After declaration, the company will have to pass a special resolution. Okay, or if let's say whosoever are the members of the company, they'll have to pass the special resolution. Then if you see a resolution of a member of a company in the general meeting requiring the company to be liquidated as a result of expiry of the duration, if any, fixed by the articles, or on the occurrence of any event in respect of which the articles provide for the company shall be dissolved, as the case may be, an appointing for the insolvency professional to act as liquidator. Please read this part again, and can you tell me why we have this provision? This is from your company law lecture from CS Executive. What is this? Just read it. See, here it is special resolution, correct? But here it is only saying ordinary resolution. Why so?
Sir, if company is formed for a specific purpose
Mm-hmm.
and that is specific purpose has been accomplished.
Right. So I'll tell you, a company is a going concern, right? A company, if you remember, in the foundation or in your CS intermediate, you executive, you must have read in the basics of the company law that a company is a going concern. Members may die, right? Members may come, members may go, but company is going to continue. It has a legal existence, right? So company is incorporated by the process of law. So it will also be shut down, or it will be wound up as per the, or it will be dissolved as per the process of the law. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So same provision is given here. Apart from that, what are the ways to dissolve the company? So one is the dissolution, and another is the time period can be fixed in the articles of association. So quite possible that time period which was fixed in the articles of association that has expired, right? So let's say the company was incorporated for a period of 5 years. Now that 5 year time period has expired. So as per the articles of association, now this company is to be wound up. So again, for that, you don't need to pass special resolution. You just need to pass the resolution. Or let's say you had tagged a, so either the duration was fixed, or let's say the event was fixed. So let's presume I incorporate a company. Okay, let's say Budding Professionals Private Limited. Actually, this was my company. Okay, now it is being striked off by ROC. Anyway, so Budding Professionals Private Limited, this is my company, and the objective of the company was to prepare CS students. So in my articles of association, I had written the day I make sure that 1000 students from my institute, from my company, they become company secretary. I am going to wound up the company. So 1000 students have already passed as a CS, right from foundation till the professional, they have cleared. Now the event has reached. So I want to now shut down the company. I have to dissolve this company. So again, I don't need to pass the special resolution. This is so basically, can I say this is planned winding up and this is unplanned winding up? Can I say this? This
Yes,
is
sir.
planned, and so don't use this term in the exam, but just understand that if it's a planned winding up, then you need to pass only ordinary resolution. Otherwise, you need to pass the special resolution. And what is planned winding up? Planned winding up is when the duration is fixed or the event is fixed. You have provided in the articles of association that the company is going to remain in existence for this time period. So that is there. Apart from that, if the company has debts, then you also need the approval from the creditors owing two-thirds in value of the debts of the company. They should also pass the resolution, and this should be passed within 7 days of such a resolution. Thereafter, the company is going to notify the registrar of companies and to the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India that they want to liquidate the company. This will be done within 7 days from the passing of the resolution. And now, subject to the approval of the creditors under subsection 3, the voluntary liquidation proceeding in respect of the company shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of passing of the resolution under subclause C of subsection 3. So the day you pass this ordinary resolution or this special resolution, this is the liquidation commencement date. Guys, clear? And I'll put all this in chart also for your better understanding. Now, again, if you see the provisions from section 35 to section 53 of chapter 3 shall apply as it is. Mutatis mutandis, it will apply except with such modifications as may be necessary. So same process we are going to have the preliminary report. Remember the preliminary report, asset memorandum, payment,
Yes, sir.
right, final report. So right from preliminary report till final report, all the provisions are going to remain same. And the same way, we have that waterfall provision of section 53, how the payments will be made. You'll have the same provision in that same pattern, the payments are going to be made. Then you see where the affairs of the corporate person have been completely wound up and its assets are completely liquidated, the liquidator shall make an application to the adjudicating authority for dissolution of the corporate person. So this is basically what? This is your final report. This is the final report that will be submitted to the NCLT. And then the adjudicating authority on the application filed by the liquidator, it will pass the order that the corporate debtor is dissolved from the date of the order and the corporate debtor shall be dissolved accordingly. And then the copy of the order will now be submitted within 14 days to the ROC, to the authority where the corporate debtor is registered. Guys, this is clear. Is this part clear? Section 59. This is a very short section, right? Now, let's read the guide note also. You'll understand this. So the guide note again has covered a lot of provisions. So just see what was there in the provision. If you can write this sentence in the exam, in case a question from voluntary winding up comes, trust me, you will have a edge over the other students and definitely you'll get some extra score for this. What that the provision for voluntary winding up was dealt under section 304 to 323 of the company. So technically I'll tell you what section 59 is nothing the same provisions what was there from section 304 to 323. Okay. So the provisions for the voluntary winding up earlier was dealt in section 304 to section 323. But now what has happened? Now these are repealed and you have the section 59 of the IBC. Okay. So though, so this is not do, this is though. Though the provisions were never enforced. So earlier again, the provisions of the winding up used to take place at the High Court and now it's the NCLT which is going to take place. So as per section 59, a corporate debtor who intends to liquidate itself voluntarily may initiate the voluntary liquidation proceeding by complying with the following conditions, and these are the same conditions which have been provided here. So the same provision which is there. Okay. So just remember this part. If you can write this paragraph, trust me, it is going to be beneficial for you. I'll just put this into the chat. Voluntary liquidation. Voluntary liquidation of the corporate debtor. Now, for the voluntary liquidation of the corporate debtor, what is the condition? What is the condition? So these can be the different questions. So when can the corporate debtor, sorry, not even corporate debtor, the corporate person,
Corporate person.
right? So when can the corporate person be liquidated or opt for voluntary liquidation?
When he is not, corporate person has not defaulted in the payment of creditors.
So either company has not defaulted, or you can say the company has no debts. Okay. Plus the objective is not to defraud the creditors. Correct. Apart from that, if there is no default, the company has sufficient assets to discharge its debts. Okay. Guys, this is
सर
clear?
सर
Yes. Yes.
नो डिफॉल्ट नो डेप्स तो हो सकते हैं ना सर?
So इसीलिए मैंने यहाँ पे और लिखा है कि अगर डेट है तो आपने डिफॉल्ट नहीं किया या फिर आपके पास कोई डेट ही नहीं है.
ओके
ओके.
सर. ओके.
दूसरा, आपने अपने क्रेडिटर्स को, अगर डेट है तो आप अपने क्रेडिटर्स को डिफ्रॉड नहीं करना चाहते. और तीसरा, आपके पास अगर डेट है तो सफिशिएंट एसेट्स भी है कि आप अपने डेट्स को डिस्चार्ज कर सको. सो अगर मैं इसको ऐसे लिख दूं तो आपके लिए ये बहुत इजी हो जाएगा. देखिए, ये कंडीशंस आपके लिए है या फिर ये कंडीशन है. मेक सेंस? आइदर द कंपनी हैज नो डेट्स, अगर डेट्स ही नहीं है तो फिर डिफ्रॉड और डिस्चार्ज का तो क्वेश्चन ही अराइज नहीं होता. एंड इफ कंपनी हैज डेट्स तो ये तीन कंडीशंस होने चाहिए.
ओके.
मेक सेंस? राइट, ये वाला.
यस सर.
ओके. नाउ ये आपका हुआ सेकंड. व्हाट इज टू बी डन? अ declaration is to be made. Yes or no? Declaration is to be made, and this is to be made by majority of. So just see, in case of a company, by directors, and in case of LLP,
पार्टनर.
designated partner. It should be done by the designated partner. Apart from this declaration, there should be a affidavit. What should be the affidavit? What should be the affidavit? Same,
देयर इज.
the conditions. Affidavit is for the condition, right? So this is basically, the affidavit is that first is they have made full inquiry. They have made full inquiry, okay, into the affairs of the company. First condition. Second condition, they are of the opinion that either company has
No debt.
no debt or the assets are sufficient to discharge the debt. And then the third condition, that liquidation is not to defraud the creditors, okay, or any person. Apart from that, attachments, what is to be done? What attachments will be done along with the declaration? The financial statements of the two preceding financial years, correct? The audited financial statement of previous two financial years and also the valuation report. Okay, this is to be done. Now, once the declaration is done, right? Once the declaration is done, from this declaration date, what will be done? एक बार,
SR and
yes. So within 4 weeks from the declaration, within 4 weeks from the declaration, what is to be done? Company needs to pass the special resolution. Once the special resolution is passed, or as the case may be, ordinary resolution. If it is what? If it is planned liquidation, or rather, I said that don't use this word planned liquidation. So if it is ordinary resolution, if the liquidation is as per the articles of association, where either the time or the event has come for the liquidation, then once you pass this special resolution or ordinary resolution, you need to obtain consent. You need to obtain consent from the creditors, 2/3 in value. Obtain the consent, correct? Now, from this, within next 7 days, आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? You'll have to notify the ROC as well as IBBI, and the date of the ordinary resolution or the special resolution is what? It is the
commencement of voluntary liquidation.
right. So the date of the ordinary resolution or the special resolution, this is what? This is the deemed date of liquidation commencement, or you can say liquidation commencement date. Plus one more thing, that the corporate person must now cease to carry on the business operations. Okay, carry on the business operations except as required for the beneficial winding up of the company. Right now, also one more thing, as soon as the liquidation commencement date has been initiated, so from the liquidation commencement date, What needs to be done? Appointment of,
Liquidator.
yes. You need to appoint the liquidator, and this is to be done within those 3 days. Also, this liquidator will then do what? This liquidator will make the public announcement. Okay. The public announcement will be made within 5 days. The public announcement will be made. Then again, why is the public announcement made? What is the objective of public announcement?
If any creditor want
Claim.
claim their,
Submission.
yes,
Right. So last date of submission of claims. Right. And this is within 30 days. And then in the next 30 days, the verification will be done. Right. So this is 8th, where in the next 30 days, the verification will be done of the claims. So if you see till now, whatever time period has happened, this is all from the liquidation commencement date. This is all from the liquidation commencement date. So 30 plus 30. Now 60 days has gone. Now you have the preliminary report. So till now, the liquidator has got enough information. What is to be done? So next step would be 9th. Now the liquidator will submit the preliminary report. Sir, we have not studied about preliminary report in the module. It is fine. It is absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. So liquidator is to submit the preliminary report. Right. I'm sorry. I said 75. It's 45. Liquidator has to submit the preliminary report within 45 days of the commencement date. Right. And what will be there in the liquidation preliminary report? What is the capital structure? What is going to be the content? That what is the capital structure? Then you can say the estimation of assets and liabilities. Then full inquiry, whether the full inquiry have been done for the promotion. Remember?
proposed plan of action for carrying out the
Yes.
liquidation.
From the liquid promotion, then all those things. So etc. All these things will be there. Next is again the verification of the claims and everything is to be done. Now, just see the distribution of the proceeds will be done within 6 months. Distribution of the proceeds, this has to be done within 6 months, right? This should be within 6 months. This should be done. And of course, before the distribution of the proceeds. So this is within 6 months from the realization. Of course, the distribution of the proceeds will be done rather after the deduction of liquidation cost. So the liquidation cost will be recovered and then the payments will be made. And let's say the liquidation proceeding continues for more than 12 months, then liquidator will also have to. So this I'll write it at the end. And then at last, the final report will be submitted. So liquidator then submits the final report.
सर इसमें वो लिक्विडेशन एसेट्स वगैरह जो वो उसमें बनता था नॉर्मल में, इसमें नहीं बनेगा ना सर?
बनेगा, बट प्रिसाइज आपका है, मैं इसको बिल्कुल प्रिसाइज करके आपको बता रहा हूँ,
ओके सर।
तो वो उतना डिटेल में आपका नहीं जाएगा। बिकॉज आप ये देखो कि यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टिगेशन कम करना होगा एज कंपेयर टू द liquidation after the business has the resolution plan has failed.
हाँ, क्योंकि डिफॉल्ट वगैरह नहीं है और
हाँ ये
डेप्ट
सब,
भी हो सकता है
हाँ
ना ना हो।
yes,
ओके।
right. So the final report will be submitted to the NCLT along with the audited account showing the receipt and payment. So अगर आपने ये पोर्शन पढ़ा है लिक्विडेटर्स अकाउंट एग्जीक्यूटिव के अंदर, सो दिस इज सेम। Since the liquidation commencement date, right? And along with that, there will also be a statement. इसके साथ में एक स्टेटमेंट और जाएगा जो क्या डिटरमाइन करेगा, द स्टेटमेंट विल डेमोन्स्ट्रेट that the assets of the corporate person has been disposed. So this has to be clearly given. The assets of the corporate person has been disposed. Secondly, the debts of the corporate person has been discharged, right? Or they have been paid. And third, there is no pending litigation against the company, right? There will also be a statement which will determine. There will another statement which will provide with respect to the assets, what was the realized value of the asset, then what was the cost of realization, what was the manner of sale, okay, and again the person to whom it is sold. So all this is to be provided, and etc. Any other material information. So this is all with respect to the asset. Okay.
एसेट
Also,
सेल रिपोर्ट लाइक दैट।
this is a asset sale report. So that's what I said कि आपको इस तरह से एक वो report मिलेगा. So asset sale report ये आपका जाएगा. Now this is if I say the liquidation proceeding exceeds for more than 12 months. So the liquidation process when it exceeds for more than 12 months, then in that case, the liquidator will have to hold a meeting. So you can again say like a AGM, liquidator is going to hold a meeting of contributories. Also, the liquidator will have to the meeting is going to take place within 15 days from the end of the 12 months. From the end of the 12 months. And also he'll have to provide the status of the assets. So basically the annual status report. plus the balance sheet, basically the audited financial statement. So this is there in case of the voluntary liquidation. Till now, it is untouched. They have not asked any question with respect to voluntary CIRP. As far as the fast track CIRP, they have just asked a basic question. I think that is also asked once. So till now, this is untouched, but I believe it can be repeated in your exam, or it can be asked in your exam, right? So that's why I've covered this part also. As far as the new syllabus is concerned, so see, this was a new chapter altogether. So now when you will read this, you will realize this is already covered, this voluntary liquidation, right? So this part, all this is done, right? So you'll realize voluntary liquidation, it's a short chapter from module also. If you are going to see, it's a very short chapter, voluntary liquidation. And
Sir, fast tech CIP is a part of any chapter?
yes, it's the normal CIRP only. It's part of the normal CIRP only. वो क्या किया हुआ है हर जगह वहां पे बेसिक उसी के साथ में ऐड करके दे दिया है. Have you read this chapter? Like how it is this? इसी के साथ में आपका ये साथ में कवर हो गया है, फास्ट ट्रैक CIRP. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So that is why. And ये देखो वॉलंटरी लिक्विडेशन ऑलमोस्ट 8 से 9 पेजेस का आपको दे रहा है वो, फ्रॉम पेज नंबर 262, और ये आपका देखो 268 पे एंड हो गया. तो शॉर्ट में पूरा चैप्टर है, रिपोर्टिंग एंड एवरीथिंग. सो व्हाट आई हैव डन, आई हैव मेड इट अ वेरी जिस्ट ऑफ दिस. इसके अलावा एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी फॉर कॉर्पोरेट डेटर, दिस यू ऑल नो इज व्हाट इट इज, द NCLT व्हिच इज देयर. ओके, इट इज गोइंग टू बी द नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल. तो ये है अपील्स, आप किसके ऊपर करोगे, नेशनल कंपनी लॉ एपेलेट ट्रिब्यूनल. सो यू डोंट हैव टू रीड दिस अगेन, you have already covered. So this is National Company Law Tribunal. I'll highlight it. So this is National Company Law Tribunal. Then National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Okay, and also understand the appeal has to be filed within 30 days or before. Right. Also one more thing, just see which NCLT. So the NCLT having the territorial jurisdiction over the place where the registered office of the corporate person is located. So let's say a company from Mumbai is filing a CIRP against a debtor in Delhi. So the application will be filed in which NCLT?
Mumbai.
No, Delhi. The debtor is in Delhi, na? The company is from Mumbai. It wants to file the application against the debtor which is in Delhi. So the application will be made in the Delhi NCLT. Okay. So that's how we also keep getting cases, like someone from Kolkata will contact us that we have a corporate debtor, उसके लिए application file करना है. तो आप application file कर दोगे क्या? सिर्फ NCLT में जाके application file करना है. So we go and do that. And similarly, when we get such work, we also have to do the same thing, that there is a corporate debtor जिसके लिए against में एप्लीकेशन फाइल करना है. सो क्या आप कर सकते हो? सो दूसरे NCLT में फिर वहां पे हम लोग भी फाइल करवाते हैं. तो ऐसा वर्क आपको मिलता है. Then again, appeal to the Supreme Court. So if an appeal has to be made to the Supreme Court, that has to be made within 45 days. Civil court will have no jurisdiction, right? This is there, and this is fine. Expeditious, fraudulent or malicious initiation. Now all these are untouched. Okay, all these are untouched. और जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना, जैसे सबको पता है कि कोविड हुआ है तो RT-PCR टेस्ट करवाना है, ठीक है, but you'll find very few people who know the full form of RT-PCR. Yes or no? आप में से कितनों को पता है RT-PCR का फुल फॉर्म क्या है? ठीक, मेरा 3 बार हो गया बट मुझे अभी भी नहीं याद. कुछ तो है रैपिड कुछ ऐसे करके, राइट? सो सेम थिंग आई विल टेल यू when you discuss, when you pick up the topics from IBC, so everyone knows that financial creditor, operational creditor, corporate debtor, or fast track CIRP, or liquidation after the resolution plan has failed or the voluntary liquidation, ये सब proceedings पता होते हैं. But you may get a question. So this is a off track question where they say that you have found out or the false application was filed, a corporate, or let's say the corporate debtor had filed a false application or the financial creditor had filed a false application. Now what is going to be the legal course of action? So here, if you remember, if any person initiates the CIRP or the liquidation proceeding fraudulently, so just remember this is for both, for the resolution process as well as for the liquidation, both, or malicious with the intent for any purpose other than insolvency resolution or for the liquidation, as the case may be, the adjudicating authority may impose such a person a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh rupees, but which may again extend to 1 crore. Okay, so this is there. And if any person initiates voluntary liquidation, so this is for the voluntary liquidation proceeding with the intent to defraud, then again the adjudicating authority can impose the penalty which is for 1 crore. So just understand that what is the minimum penalty? It is going to be 1 lakh to 1 crores. Okay. This is fine. You don't have to do this. Fraudulent trading and all, this is fine. Proceedings, this is all you don't have to do. And then offenses and penalties are there. So this all you can ignore. I don't think so. They are going to ask you a question from here. But yes, that was a off track question, which is to be there. Penalties, I don't think so. There is too much, except for this, that when fraudulently the application is filed. This you can anyway include it in your normal answer also, that if fraudulently the application is being made by the corporate debtor or the creditor, then in that case, NCLT may impose a penalty which will be minimum for 1 lakh and maximum for 1 crore. Right. So this is there. Now let's go to the module and we can see, have we covered all the provisions or not? So today what you can do, you can of course go and read the voluntary liquidation proceedings, as I said. So this we have already covered. Just see the powers and liquidities, duties of the liquidator, liquidation estate, consolidation of the claims, verification of the claims, right? Determination of the valuation of the claims, appeal against the liquidator, preferential transactions, undervalued transactions, right? Transactions defrauding creditors, extortionate credit transactions, then secured creditor, and distribution of the assets in this. And this is a voluntary liquidation. So just cover this, right? And this is all for the IBC as far as the CIRP part is concerned, right? So this part we have already covered. Petitions part we covered. Role and functions. This from the notes you just have to cover the short paragraph that I have made. You have to cover that. Otherwise it is again the repeated part, like personal to extend, cooperation, management and affairs. So I said you these are not going to be asked. Appointment of RP. So this is again same. Duties of RP, replacement of RP. So this is repeated. Preparation of information memorandum, right? Resolution strategy. Now, if you see this resolution strategy, don't go by these case studies and all, just see this. This is part of your chapter number 1 only, correct? Corporate restructuring. So you'll find all mergers and everything. Then acquisition of the corporate debtor under liquidation through sale of assets as a going concern. This is all same. And then convening the meeting of the committee of creditor. Then preparation and approval of the resolution plan, right? So all this is done. Just see this same expression of interest, which is issued by the resolution professionals, request for resolution plan, submission of the resolution plan, approval, everything, right? Now tomorrow we will start with this individual firm and insolvency. So same we will do it just from the slides. We'll cover this part and tomorrow we will be through with the entire IBC portion. And then finally we can start with the SARFAESI provision from day after tomorrow. Okay. So tomorrow again we will start. We'll have a lecture during this time only. Same like today, 5 o'clock we'll start and we'll do this. Okay, just revise whatever I have covered till now and also go through from the module. New syllabus students definitely will go through from your module. Old syllabus students, I believe that even if you go through from the new syllabus module, there is no harm in that. Uh, the relevant notes are anyway there in the slides, so you have to study only that much, but just go through. It won't take much time, and as I said, in the module they have given it in a very precise manner. बहुत ज़्यादा content उन्होंने दिया नहीं है. It's a very precise material which you have, so don't worry about the content. And then tomorrow, as I said, fast track, fresh start process and the insolvency, individual insolvency. This is again something which is for old syllabus students. I would say, I don't think so they are going to ask you, because this is not even part of your syllabus. For new syllabus student, I believe that they may ask you a question, though this is least important. Still, we will cover it in brief. In brief, we will cover the entire chapter again through the slides. Tomorrow, I'm not going to write anything. It will be there in the slides only. I'll pick up the slides from the previous batch and I'll use that slides to discuss the entire profession. And that will be more than enough. Even if you listen to that lecture one day before the exam, you'll be able to write the answer. So that's absolutely fine. ओल्ड सिलेबस स्टूडेंट्स, आप लोग अटेंड करना चाहो तो करो, मेरे हिसाब से कर लो. आई बिलीव यू शुड अटेंड. And new syllabus students, definitely you will have to attend. And day after tomorrow we'll start with the most important chapter after IBC, that is the SARFAESI Act. Okay, so that's it for the today's lecture. Take care. Bye bye.
सर
Yes.
सर वो जो पार्ट ए है उसका हम बाकी रिमेनिंग चैप्टर्स का आप इसको कंप्लीट होने के बाद पीवाईक्यू
हाँ.
सेशन लें.
PYQ सेशन से जस्ट पहले, सो जैसे वो ड्यू डिलिजेंस वाला पार्ट है, वो ड्यू डिलिजेंस वाला जो एक चैप्टर है दैट आई विल कवर, और उसके बाद में मैं PYQ सेशन स्टार्ट कर दूंगा. सो एक बार हमारा ये कंप्लीट हो जाए, ये फिनिश होने के बाद में हम सिर्फ PYQ सेशंस पे फोकस करेंगे.
ओके
सर
सर.
और PYQ
ये
सेशन के साथ में अगर कोई भी आपको टॉपिक लगता है कि सर यू प्लीज टेक दिस टॉपिक अगेन, इसको आप रिवाइज करवा दो, तो वो साथ साथ में रिवाइज करते जाएंगे. मैं PYQ
ओ,
सेशन के लिए क्या करूंगा, जैसे इफ यू रिमेम्बर मैंने मर्जर्स का आपको एक फोटो ग्रुप में भेजा था जिसमें सारे पास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन सीक्वेंस वाइज लिखे हुए थे, अटेम्प्ट वाइज.
हाँ सर.
राइट.
हाँ
सो हम मैं क्या करूंगा, ऐसे हर चैप्टर का जो भी PYQ सेशन लेने वाला होगा ना, उससे पहले मैं आपको पास्ट एग्जाम क्वेश्चंस का एक ऐसे लिस्ट प्रोवाइड कर दूंगा दैट कल के PYQ सेशन में या जो भी नेक्स्ट PYQ सेशन होगा उसमें हम लोग ये क्वेश्चंस को कवर करेंगे. तो आप उन क्वेश्चंस को पहले ही गो थ्रू कर लो. अब सपोज करो आपको लगता है सर दिसंबर 2020 ओल्ड सिलेबस का ये वाला क्वेश्चन है, इसको आप एक बार डिटेल में बता देना, और माय टॉपिक इज कनेक्टेड टू दिस क्वेश्चन, सो आप इसको फिर से एक बार रिवाइज करवा देना. जैसे एक एग्जांपल देता हूं, सपोज वॉलंटरी लिक्विडेशन हैज बीन आस्क्ड इन दिसंबर 2020. अभी आप पूरा पढ़ रहे हो, उस वक्त आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं सर वॉलंटरी लिक्विडेशन है ना, एक बार ब्रश अप करवा दो, तो आप मुझे बता देना कि सर जब आप ये क्वेश्चन करो तो आप समझ रहे हो, क्वेश्चन क्वेश्चन के साथ ही में वो कॉन्सेप्ट में फिर आपको दोबारा से रिवाइज करवा दूंगा. सो वो क्या होगा, इट विल बी वेरी इफेक्टिव वे टू लर्न.
सर
यस.
in IBC, straightforward question is asked or
मोस्टली
uh,
स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चंस.
case law no.
मोस्टली स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चंस. अभी केस लॉ में आपको बताओ कैसा होगा. केस लॉ कैन बी आस्क्ड दिस वे दैट एज आई सेड, इंस्टेड ऑफ आस्किंग यू व्हाट इज द पेनल्टी फॉर फाइलिंग अ फॉल्स CIRP application, they'll ask you that Mr. ABC has filed a false application, being the financial creditor has filed a false application for a against a corporate debtor for initiating CIRP, explain the consequence. Got it?
Okay sir.
So ऐसा ही केस लॉ आएगा. कोई टेक्निकल केस, सी एंटायर CRI I'll tell you, you won't get a technical case law. The technical case law only subject that is there, it is in your multidisciplinary, in your open book. इलेक्टिव पेपर में जो ओपन बुक है वो मैं केस स्टडी बोलूंगा, वेर यू आर गिवन अ सिचुएशन ऑफ और द फैक्ट ऑफ द केस रन्स डाउन टू 3-4 पेजेस एंड देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू आर बीइंग आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन, उसको केस स्टडी बोलते हैं. यहाँ केस स्टडी आपको कोई ऐसा नहीं मिलेगा.
Okay sir.
केस स्टडी तो वो होता है जब आपको एक साथ उसमें मल्टीपल चीजें ट्रिगर हो, तो उसको केस स्टडी, जैसे टेक ओवर रेगुलेशन हो गया, तो टेक ओवर रेगुलेशन में वो आपको बताएगा फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल टिल 31 मार्च ये इवेंट्स हुए, अभी बताओ what are the takeover regulation violations which are done, what are the compliances that should have been done, what are the violations, and now what is the penalty. You getting?
Yes.
वो
Yes.
केस स्टडी क्वेश्चन होता है, these are not case study, these are straight forward fact वाला क्वेश्चन होगा, जो थोड़ा सा आपको डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछने की बजाय वो राम श्याम ऐसे करके आपको नाम देके क्वेश्चन बना देंगे,
Okay.
अदरवाइज इट इज वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन। आईबीसी तो और भी ज्यादा, ओल्ड सिलेबस तो और भी ज्यादा स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन आएगा।
हाँ सर, अभी पास्ट ईयर ऐसा कोई उसमें कुछ नहीं
हाँ
दिया
मैंने
है।
बताया, लेकिन
हाँ,
एट द सेम टाइम since it has not been asked in the past exam, there is no assurity that it will not be asked in your attempt,
yeah,
right? Because this has happened, this has actually
yeah.
happened, they have not asked, but all of a sudden they change the level of the question and they raise it and they ask all technical questions, and then student wonders that scanner में तो ये सब था ही नहीं, right? So that is
पार्ट
the
फर्स्ट में भी वो
सर ये
आई
मेरे
आई इसका इंसॉल्वेंसी का थोड़ा बहुत पार्ट ये करके और उसमें दे देते हैं हम लोग आजकल।
हाँ
हम्म,
सर ये मेरे साथ टैक्स में बहुत बड़ा धोखा हो चुका है इस बार।
न्यू सिलेबस प्रोफेशनल में
यस सर, मैंने क्या किया था, टैक्स डीटी मुझे 30 मार्क्स का है ना, तो मैंने पास्ट का वो देखा, तो ग्राफ क्या था ना कि मैट एएमटी वो लोग पूछते हैं, तो मैंने उन टॉपिक्स को इतना कर लिया था ना कि मैंने डीटी डबल ए इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शन इनको ठीक ठीक किया था, और मेरे अटेम्प्ट में क्या हुआ, एएमटी मैट का एक भी क्वेश्चन नहीं,
क्वेश्चन नहीं
होल
आया।
पार्ट वाज डीटीए और इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन।
यस, सो मैं आपको बताता हूँ, this actually happens and ये panic button दबता है। I'll tell you, you know what was my score in CRI when I was a student? CRI, apart from being my core subject, not as a professional, even as a student, it was my core subject. The best subject that I prepared in detail was CRI. I got 45 marks. And you know why? Because every attempt they used to ask questions from takeover regulations, almost for 20-25 marks. In my attempt, it was only asked for 4 marks. And the question number 1, which was usually used to come from from merger, in my attempt I got 10 marks question from demerger. Just go and check December 2011 question 1A of CRI. That was from demerger. 10 marks question from demerger. Seeing that question, I got panicked, and it was so hard for me to accept the reality that they have not asked question from takeover regulation. Winding up again, I had prepared it so well. During my time, it was 70 marks part A and 30 marks was part B, that insolvency part. So I had prepared all this. So that's why I say that, you know, इतना अच्छा preparation करने के बाद भी I fumbled in the exam because of this. But and this because of this reason, I have not met my professors after clearing my CS. I have not met them. I have informed them that I have cleared. I'm grateful, but I couldn't go and meet them because of this reason. Rather, I didn't go and meet them because of this reason. I was like, मैं क्या जाके मुंह दिखाऊं? I had not taken classes from anyone. Professional का मैंने classes नहीं लिया था, but those who had taught me in executive, I was like, ये क्या मतलब? I was so ashamed of myself because I was preparing for a rank. Frankly, for CS, I was definitely preparing for rank, but I couldn't get one, so I was very ashamed of myself. So one of the major reason was this, where I could have scored well, but I couldn't score. So आप ऐसा नहीं करो कि पास्ट एग्जाम में पूछा है नहीं पूछा है, तो बिल्कुल भी ऐसा नहीं करना। ओके तो हम इसीलिए सब चीजों को कवर करके चलेंगे। फ्रेश स्टार्ट एंड ऑल अगर मैं बताऊं नहीं भी कवर करो तो चलेगा, देर इज नो प्रॉब्लम, बट व्हाट इफ दे आस्क यू फॉर 5 मार्क्स एंड let's say you are short by 4 marks in aggregate or 3 marks in aggregate, why to take chance in that case? That time you'll regret, अरे यार वो कर लेते तो अच्छा होता। So हम लोग अभी से पढ़ लेंगे उसको, ठीक है?
यस सर।
Okay then, take care, bye bye.
बाय।